My most profound, sincere, and heartfelt condolences to all who are left to mourn: Uncle Dolphus, Auntie Marva, Tammy, Adrian, Cedro, Renee, and the rest of the entire family, friends, and loved ones. Greetings and salutation, everyone. This is my tribute to Dolfie, affectionately known to us as the Dilf, and I would like to share a few of my thoughts and a couple of things that I was fortunate enough to express to him not too long ago, less than about 2 weeks ago. When I heard that the Delft took a turn for the worse, I couldn't help but reach out right away to express my feelings, as too often times we wait until our loved ones are no longer with us to say all the nice things that we experience with them and all the positive and beautiful feelings we have in our hearts for them. So the fact that I had the opportunity to do that prior to makes me feel. I began by reminding him that, Delph, you were always too hard on yourself. But it wasn't just that he was too hard on himself, that was the level of passion he had in everything that he did. And that same passion is what allowed him to cultivate his discipline to be the best person that he could be every day. I said, Dolph, you were so hard on yourself that when Ralph and I hook up and we start to talk about school days, and by the way, Ralph is none other than Chauvin Frederick, who I'm more than sure is present. And the reason we named him Ralph, like I said, we had a nickname for everyone in the group. And Chauvin was always the authority figure, the ultimate authority figure among us. He was the one that would always correct us and tell us what was allowed, what we should do, and what we should not do. So at that time, Ralph Richardson was the governor, so the highest body of authority. Chauvin adopted, we named him Ralph. So up to today. So I said, when you study for a test and you were supposed to get a 10 in your mind and you get an 8.5, you would not only be displeased, you would not only not be dissatisfied, you would be so upset that you would get angry. I mean, a kind of anger that no one would dare say anything to him. But me having to live up to my name as the class clown, always trying to inspire a smile in them, I would come up to him, subtly and say, but Del, why are you upset? Other classmates studied all day yesterday. They studied on the way to school in the bus. They studied before the bell rang. And they would be happy just to get a 6. And if you know Dolph, he would just look up at me like this. He wouldn't say a word for a few seconds, and then he would turn his head. Then comes recess. We would go where another spot where we would hang out, close to the canteen. And he would be close to us, but still standing at a distance on his own, by himself, with his anger. And he would buy his lunch, the famous tuna roll. He would take a bite, then he would stare at it for a couple seconds, and he would say, "It's your fault," and boom, throw it away. And those are things that we would laugh about, but that was just the level of intensity and passion that he lived with, and what he expected from himself. Dolph was one of the most talented persons I ever met. If he had to play basketball in the gym against guys in a higher grade, he would run circles around them and score that basket like nothing happened. And if you had him and Ralph on the same side, then they were winning for sure. So we would stand on the side like cheerleaders and cheer them on. You know, on the music side, he had music on both sides of the family. I don't have to mention Uncle Dolphus's talent, experience, and career with Rolling Tones, and Auntie Marva's prolific pianistic abilities that makes her probably the most prolific pianist that St. Island has ever produced. So he was very passionate about the music as well. That's when they decided to make the band the Rolling Tones Juniors, and you would have him, Cisco, Otis, Bud, and Ralph on the guitars, and band practice was on Fridays. So when band practice is on Fridays, sometimes there was some issue with the electricity in the garage downstairs, and some of the instruments would give a little shock. And as much as the instrument shocked, practice continued. You know, like I said again, that's drive and that's discipline. Then I reminded him that he was one of us that was able to drive independently at an earlier age. And in those days, Uncle Dolphus had the nicest sport cars, starting from the maroon Nissan 300Z. And then when they changed the shape, then he had the white one. And then after that, the Mitsubishi 3000 GT twin turbo. And every time Dolph was able to get in one of these vehicles and drive by himself, the first place he would come is KB to pick me up so that we could take a drive, we could take a spin around the island to feel the vehicle, to feel the drive. When we're in the vehicle together, it was never about how many cars are on the road, who's looking at the cars, or anything. It was just focus on that moment, on that feeling. Again, the passion. So I can't help but continuing to revisit the word passion every time I think about him. Then, one very nice byproduct of him being able to drive independently was me asking him frequently to take me to French Quarter, and that's how he met his lovely wife, Tammy. So I had to share that with y'all as well, and him and I could laugh about it in those final days. So all in all, we had very, very nice and memorable times together. I would always remember, cherish, and value our friendship. And I can say, if I could say anything to Dolphy today, I would say, rest peacefully, my brother, until we meet again on the other side. Thank you.